Riften, the city of thieves. The Rift is probably the most beautiful hold in Skyrim, but its capital is far from being as cozy. With crimes all over the streets and inequality between the rich and the poor, there is a lot to cover here. So why not make this city into the busy but beautiful mess that it should have been from the beginning? We'll start the overhaul with the exterior of the city, and what better way to kick this into motion than with Riften Docks overhaul, making the docks outside the city way bigger and more populated. Introducing new ships, smaller boats, bigger piers, and way more clutter. Actually a lot of clutter. I imagine the economy here took a massive downturn with the eruption of Red Mountain, as Lake Honrich is connected to the Sea of Ghosts, very close to Morrowind. And as many people fled from Morrowind, the trade has ceased, or at the very least slowed down significantly. Am I a nerd for reading too much into it? All that to say that while yes, there are a lot of barrels and crates and stuff, but just imagine what it would have been like when Morrowind was a booming economy. There are also many fishing ships showcasing the abundance of sea life due to its warmer climate than the rest of Skyrim. So speaking of fish, what's the point of catching it if you're not gonna sell it? Introducing the Riften Fish Market, a new market right next to the docks where the merchants can sell their daily catch. You'll find all kinds of fish and seafood on display, with this now being the biggest fish market in Skyrim. Getting away from the water, let's take a moment to improve the main entrance to Riften with JK's Riften Outskirts, a mod introducing new buildings and shacks right outside, making the Riften stables seem more functional. There's now also a little cabin area for the guards on the lookout to take a break, and also, more importantly, a toilet. This one actually being quite spacious and cozy. The mod also changes the nearby farm, adding 4 new buildings, making it literally 4 times bigger, which is also a very welcome change. Next up, I have a change to the Rift as a whole, being Blubbo's Aspen Tree Replacer, a tree mod I can really get behind. Changing all the aspen trees to this thick tree model, covering the whole biome, making it feel so much cozier. This results in more shade and the sun occasionally peeking through the canopies, which I think is really beautiful. It makes sure to cover the whole area, and while it looks good from above, it feels somewhat magical and fantastical from underneath. Do those two words mean the same thing? Maybe. Should I hire a better writer? Also maybe. And I understand that it's not for everybody, but I'm really a big fan of Blubbo's tree replacers, and this one is near the top of my list of their mods. I would also add Rin's Golden Glow Estate, adding new walls, new structures, and bigger bridges to the estate islands, worthy of being the massive honey producer it should have always been. And then after that, let's tackle a whole new district on the south of Riften, one of the biggest expansions of today, and that is Riften Extension Southwoods District. This mod adds a bunch of new buildings around the south path that leads into the city, which includes a whole new public square, new farms, and stores. This is a very nice mod that adds a very cozy community to the city. Also includes some voice acting, and all the buildings have really cool interiors. Since this mod adds an original idea in a lesser visited location, it should be compatible with pretty much anything, and given its quality, I see no downside in having this mod installed at all times. And before we go into the city itself, I have to warn you, there are a lot of criminals. Not only in Riften, but on the internet, and there's no better way to protect yourself than with ExpressVPN. Not using ExpressVPN while browsing the web is pretty much like walking in Riften. There's no punchline. Don't walk around in Riften. We all know the benefits of a VPN by now, but what if I told you that you can get lower prices for services based on different locations? And that's not the only way to save money today, as you can also use the link in the description, expressvpn.com/NarivaTV, for 3 months for free, and you can use it for 30 days, and if you for some reason decide to cancel, you get your money back, simple as that. Now going into the city itself, I had to disable my texture mods to give you a nice before and after, so bear with me with these closer to vanilla textures. I even had to disable Skyland. I hope you're happy. So we'll first start with Dawn of Skyrim, a mod that I have for all my cities, and Riften is no exception. This mod adds many details around the city, such as cages, more trees, cranes, this merchant now having ice around her cart to preserve the meat, which is really cool, more details and ways to access the canal, and so many more. You can already see that the mod makes Riften feel a lot cozier already. And if you have Blubbos installed as well, there's a tree in the middle that looks kind of like it sticks out of nowhere because of its large trunk, but honestly, the shade and comfy feeling that it adds makes it worth it to me, so I don't mind it one bit. Next up, we got Spaghetti City's Riften, a rather new addition to the city, adding even more details, and it's somehow compatible with Dawn of Skyrim. I haven't really seen any clipping or whatever personally, so I'm assuming it's all good. Maybe it was all planned. A good content creator plans everything in advance. Make a plan. The most obvious additions are the flags in the marketplace that seem to be a staple from this mod author, adding more colors. And there are also fishing rods all over the canals, showing that Riften is indeed a fishing town. With Riften, make your own Riften, you can add even more details on certain buildings, and you can add whichever change individually when installing the mod. Now this is amazing and I wish more mods did that. Changes include more bridges, entire decks for some buildings, multiple guard towers, and even a boat sticking out of this building. I mean, dude, I love details like this. I wish I had a boat sticking out of my building. Overall, this mod changes the existing buildings in Riften, and I encourage you to check out the mod page to see what changes speak to you. Now we can take a look at textures. Finally, we will go from vanilla to a setup for the rest of my game that includes Skyland, Clever Charf, and Skyland bits and bobs. In that order actually, simply because of personal preference. And specifically for Riften, I have the more recent Gravulum, making the city have a rustic feeling. While the colors are sorta washed up, it's exactly what Riften needs, as it's not a city that truly stands out in terms of the architecture, but from the purple color of its banners that now shine through with ease. There's a parallax version, which is what I'm using right now, and I think it makes it look amazing, realistic, cozy, and somewhat cold and uninviting at the same time. It's actually kind of hard to describe. Now, while this is my favorite setup for Riften, I'm gonna come at you with full transparency. The performance in the city is now a lot lower than before, which is totally normal, so I recommend going for 1K version of textures for everything, unless you're playing on a NASA computer. Also, the mods are not fully compatible, but the worst you'll get are these two banners peeking out through the bridge and a balcony. But other than these two things, I really haven't noticed any issues, and I think having to disable the items once in order to get such a beauty of a city is not gonna ruin the experience. Or maybe that's just me. Going into some details to make the city look even better, I recommend organic Riften leaves, making the dead leaves on the floor smaller and more realistic. They are indeed a little bit harder to notice, but they look sometimes dry, sometimes wet from the rain, but what's important is that they look dead. Magnificent Riften Misvile Keep door for this amazing door design to the Jarl house. Now, did I pronounce that correctly? I have no idea, man. Is it Misvile? Misvile? Shit. And a little subtle change from FYX, Riften Canal, and round posts, making them have a more organic shape while giving the ropes more girth. I wish there was a mod in real life that would add more girth, but whatever. Adding more details, we got grass in Riften, which makes you think, why is there no actual grass in Riften? What's the deal with that? Now the back alleys look a million times better in my opinion. Staying on the nature side, we got falling leaves in Riften, one of the most atmospheric mods on the list, adding the occasional few leaves falling from the trees, explaining why there are so many dead leaves on the ground. And finally, puddles of Riften, adding small and shallow bodies of water around the city. This mod I'm adding with a caveat since I got a few shader issues while looking at the water, but you lose nothing by trying it out yourself since it could just be my setup, I don't know. Regardless, it's super nice and makes Riften feel moist. And there you have it. What's that? There's more? Oh shit, we got the interiors. Well, I have the snazzy interior cities for the Blackbriar and Snowshot Manor, the GG Thieves Guild for the Cistern, and JK's interiors for pretty much everything else. You cannot make Riften look amazing without also touching the interiors. It's as if you're making a Noriva video without an immature joke. There it is. For the Temple of Mara, in addition to the JK overhaul, I also recommend Statue of Mara, along with a patch for Blubbo's tree replacer that you can find on the Blubbo's mod page. And with all these mods, the city is complete and ready to play. Just make sure not to get robbed. Don't be a low IQ Nazim lover like Lincoln, please, and remember that the best protection you can have while walking around in the city is ExpressVPN. Or was that surfing the web? Either way, you're better off having it when you do both. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe for more videos like this from Skyrim and also Starfield when that eventually comes out in a week, 2 weeks, 1 week, I don't know. Do consider supporting me on Patreon as it fuels more and more content here. A bunch of you asked me to create collections of the videos I make and I've been putting that off for a while now. The reason is that I want to showcase as many mods as I can without crashing and you guys pick and choose and create your game the way you want it. So as you can tell, I'm actually not a big fan of the idea of collections myself. I know, I'm sorry. And that is because for me, the fun of modding is actually creating your own game. But if you think I'm wrong, I'd maybe be more open to the idea. If you do want me to create collections, do you guys have any tutorials that I can follow to create them directly from MO2? Because I don't really want to open up Vortex. Every time I do that, all my mod list goes crazy and I break my whole game. So Vortex pretty much for me is a literal vortex that where all my mods fall in and they die. So look at all these beautiful and sexy patrons. You yourself can also be here one day. And now you can choose what videos to watch next. Now if you don't mind me, I have some laundry to fold. So leave me alone.